Clelu.
Hannah Campbell.
Emily Frumhold.
And Allie Klasner.
This is the Kite Runner.
Chapters 12 through 16.
Alright. Some story events, huge events that we could talk about in chapter 12 is Yelda and its relevance to Soria. So, like...
Oh, that's what you called her.
Yes.
I was pronouncing that very strange in my
What did
head.
you call her?
I don't want to say it.
No, say it. Because I could be wrong. Why do you assume I'm right?
Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically it's that. So that's a thing that we wanted to talk about. So, like he refers to Yelda. It's more of a religion thing. But then he refers to Soria. So does that explain, like, his feelings towards her? It's not lust, but it's...
Yeah,
kind of thing.
that makes sense. I don't know what else to say on that topic.
Okay. Again, I think this is for rhetorical uses, but description used for Soria, like how he described her hair, whatever, when we were sleeping. Then what do we think of her from what we've read in this chapter?
I really like her. I mean, the thing is, like, she had a past, and she was upfront about that, and, like, even while her dad, like, wasn't too fond of it, like, she was still a nice girl, and... I don't know, like, she was interested in his writing, and then before they got married, I don't know, like, she was up front, and, I kind of feel like I don't know.
When we talked about in the last discussion, how each of the characters kind of reflect a piece of Amir, I kind of think she takes on that, like, role of who he actually wanted to be, rather than what he is, like, now, like, who he, like, aspires... how he aspires to act and, like, own up to his actions.
Because they did some pretty, like, they both did, they had passed with mistakes, but Soria.
That's what I said.
Sure.
She ends up to hers and isn't, like, while she's humble about it, she's not gonna, pretend like it didn't happen, whereas Amir has kept that entirely to himself. As much as he could.
I think you could learn a lot from her, just about, like, how admitting something will give you a lot more freedom.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens if... Don't spoil anything here.
What the heck? I won't. But it's too much fun. So something else was tradition. So, like, while under that camp, you're in America where, like, a boy can come up to you and speak, but yet they still kept their tradition where he can't come up to her and say, hey, how are you doing? So that part.
Something to hold on to.
Baba is sick. And how, so, like, he's sick, and how does Amir handle it, and does that develop his character more?
So in a strange way, it kind of reminded me of the Scarlet Letter when, I guess it was Dimmesdale? Like, he got entirely, sick and deteriorated and died. I don't know.
But it was kind of like...
But his was a manifestation of the kind of person he was inside. And, I don't know, it just, like, reminded me of it. Because, like, okay, like, now that Baba's sick, like, we like him, but in the beginning, we so didn't. Like, we thought he was kind of, like, he was rude and controlling of Amir, and, like, he didn't really, like, love him, but, like, he did, but didn't, like, show it. I don't know, like.
But I think that's really relevant to, like, real life, though, because when somebody's sick, we only choose to see the best in them. Like, we forget any wrongdoings that they've...
It's like after someone dies, we remember all the great things they did, but we don't talk about the not so great things. I don't know, I'm just saying.
Yeah, agreed. So, yes.
With that, I thought Baba was, like, incredibly stubborn instead of stoic. Like, I didn't see it as, like, this great, like, valiant effort to, like, be himself one last time. I just saw it as stubborn
and refusing.
I agree. While I understand why he refused, to be honest, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but he wasn't going to give up smoking. Yeah. And, he'd been through a lot of stress in his life, and he, like, while it was stubborn, like, I get why people choose not to do that stuff, because they said it would only, like, make things a little bit better, but he's still going to die anyways. So, it's just going to prolong it. So, to be honest, I can kind of understand that, but I mean, it was pretty stubborn. It's like I didn't see it as like a act of honor or anything brave.
See, for me, like, Baba was an interesting. I mean, I think I took him in a realistic sense. I did not dislike him, like, in for a point, because I feel like I'm gonna use this again, and I think it's more of an excuse, but the way he has been brought up, do you know what I'm saying? Like, the way he had to climb certain things to be who he is, and those things affect who we become. So I feel like, and plus the tradition, like the tradition that you have, and you don't want to let that go while you're in that country. Now you're out of that country, and the only people you meet are like in a junkyard doing something, you know, back in your country is not revered, you know, you're not a doctor, you're outside selling junk. So I feel like he's still trying to hang on to that one thing. So like, I don't know, I feel like, go Baba.
And I think the general kind of reflects that too.
Yeah.
They're both holding on to who they were,
But does there come a time where you have to move on and let go of that
yeah.
for like your best interest?
But what do you come back? Like, if
It's
you let
just-
that go, what do you bring? Like, I feel like that's the thing.
It's kind of like a courageous act of humility, which kind of contradicts each other. But
Right.
I mean, well, the general's still collecting welfare and refuses to work, while Baba's working at a gas station and refuses to collect welfare. But there's some sort of happy medium where they say, okay, I'm in a different place now and I need help, but to the point where they also have to help themselves. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It did before I said it.
Yeah. No, all right. Soria's dad, what is he like, and does he do anything for the plot?
I'm not a big fan of him.
I'm not either. He sits
Yeah.
around the collects welfare. Like, okay, that's like a stereotype, like in and of itself. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if you're on like welfare, like that, you know, that's chill and all, but he's literally like just sitting there, and
I think that goes back to like the last discussion where we talked about like stereotypes of immigrants and how like Baba broke them, but he plays more into like our stereotype of like.
and it was interesting. Like, I don't know if you got to this part, but when things like started to look up for Afghanistan, and he was gonna go back and jump right back in the army, like he didn't. That was his plan. He was just going to wait around with his position and, you know, being a general. And then once things got better, he'd go back and valiantly, like, save the day and, you know, whatever. But then things got better and he stayed put. Like, no, granted, he was probably getting a lot older. They kind of glaze over the time period of this, but it's not really evident exactly how old they are.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's that, too.
I think really the only thing he might do for the plot is just like his role in Soria's
And her mother's like,
mistake and like how he like went with the gun to save her from her druggy
Situation.
boyfriend.
Yeah.
I think he's the stereotypical, like, I feel like he is Baba, like, in many points, the stubbornness that he has, the I need to follow tradition. But then at the same time, I feel like he is, again, he plays into that stereotype that we put immigrants under. Like, I feel like he's like a confused character. Do you understand? He wants to be that alpha male, and then at the same time, he doesn't understand how to do that and still feed his family in this real world that he's living in. And I feel like I think his point of Afghanistan being better is the Taliban coming. I mean, at that point, that's what people thought, and that was also skewed. He did not have enough information. I mean, they just wanted the Russians out at the time. They didn't know what was coming.
Yeah.
So I think the confusion also sets. Yeah.
And I think it's also really sad how he treats his wife and doesn't let her sing.
Yeah.
It just sad.
Like, he played.
And I know, like, there's a part of that, like, in context, like, I mean, we have to leave room for the fact that this, like, tradition and what goes on in Afghanistan and their culture is obviously so much different from ours. And this is only 16 years ago. I think they said it was, like, 2001 at one point. And, but nonetheless, they still have their own culture. And even though they're in America now, that doesn't change their past, but it's still sad how he like silences hers.
I think also like it plays into that, you know, like I feel like even with the religion, like even now dating, you know, you have certain people who pick points. Do you know what I'm saying? Like taking welfare, that's really not written in the Bible. Like don't work hard for what you have. That's really not there. But he does that. But at the same time, he will silence his wife because your wife isn't supposed to talk, and like that's not in there. Certain things like they
Like picking and
religions,
choosing.
right?
Yeah.
We tend to pick point which one we want, and I
That's
feel
true.
like right that highlights what we do with that.
So let's move on.
Let's see. It says the secret is out. How do we view Soria and Amir? What makes us feel this way?
I feel like we kind of already touched on that.
Yeah.
Touched on it. We're going
All right. What rhetorical figures or canons did the author include to make us feel this way? How do we feel?
I think the pathos with Soria is really present because like we have the entire buildup of the guilt with Amir and Hassan and how he never said anything, and then we view someone that did say it. So I think automatically we have like a better perspective of her just because we know Amir's experience.
And I think in one of our last discussions, we talked about how the pathos was just from us reading it, and he was just telling his story pretty objectively, especially as a child when, I mean, he just tells it how it is. But I think now that he's older and more experienced, and especially with things that are happening in his life, like, you know, finding romance and his father dying and, you know, change and everything, and his books being published, like, all sorts of different things are happening. And we get like a little bit more of a hint of
How he feels about certain things, like how he feels about like how tradition says they should treat like women. Like he talks about that for a while, and I think that wasn't as objective as the majority of the book.
I think it's getting less objective and more about how he feels on different things, which is a sign of, I guess, maturity too. Which is interesting because, I mean, it's not written by him, like growing up, like as a child and then as an adult. And this is written by an author who very artistically and successfully makes it so that, I mean, you can see the growth of Amir just through the writing style.
Yeah, and I think like the ethos for Soria, I think that was built up at this point. Like we trust her 100%. I mean,
he's
trust
telling
her
everything that happens,
right?
Like the good,
you
the bad, and
can't-
the ugly. So.
Right. All right.
It's a rhetorical figure, by the way.
Let's move to chapter 13. This is again
What page?
tradition. Page 166.
All right, I have some stuff we can look at.
Okay.
So, what do we think of on 168 when Baba, they went over to the house and Baba clears his throat, and when he began, he couldn't speak in complete sentences without stopping to breathe. And it is with great humility that my son and I have come to your home today. You are honorable people from distinguished and reputable families and proud lineage. And he comes with the highest regard, and I hope he proves worthy of your kindness. What do we think of Baba's word choice and how he presents that?
I think the humility really stands out to me because Baba, up until this point, has been nothing but proud. And this is the first time he's like humbled himself in front of someone.
I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like Soria's dad, the general, I feel like he kind of represents what like Baba was to the Afghan people in Afghanistan, but in America. So he's kind of like Baba in America. Like I feel like everyone like kind of looks up to him as like that like powerful guy, even though like in his like home life when you look deeper it's like falling apart completely. But
For me, like the part that like kind of stink of it is that I asked that you honor Amir John and me and accept my son into your family. Like I mean, it's like I hope he's worthy of your kind. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like I hope again he's putting Amir to that test. Like it's almost as if he still wants Amir to prove himself. And yeah, I feel like that point.
If you don't mind, if we could go back to 165,
Yes.
I kind of wanted to look at this paragraph. I'll read it. It says, I envied her. Her secret was out, spoken, dealt with. I opened my mouth and almost told her how I'd betrayed Hassan, lied, driven him out, and destroyed a 40-year relationship between Baba and Ali. But I didn't. I suspected there were many ways in which Surya Tahiri was a better person than me. Courage was just... We don't have to talk about it because I know we kind of already touched on it, but I think that's good.
I feel like just like with all of the guilt he's holding on, that he almost doesn't feel worthy of her like virtue, kind of, even though like her past kind of like ruins that.
Which is interesting, especially because he's like the guy in the relationship, and in context, like I don't think the guy would feel unworthy of the woman. But I think this is a very different relationship. It's a little bit Americanized, and you can see that.
It's very ironic that she is outside, that she is not wanted. You know, she should feel glad that a man wants to marry her. But in the inside, she is a gem. Yes.
I had some stuff that looked better last night. I was reading it. I'm not so sure.
Jamie, see your minutes.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The part that Papa spends $35,000 for Amir's wedding.
I really just think that foreshadows that he's going to die.
Yeah, he has
they
nothing to
say
lose at
it's
this
his
point.
entire life savings.
But why wouldn't he pass it on was my thought.
That was mine too.
Oh,
I did
yeah,
think
I
about
thought
that.
about- yeah.
That is like, in context, that's a lot of money. And to be honest, where did he get it from? Like,
That's
they didn't
college
come
tuition.
over.
That is, yeah.
That is
that's
college
Right.
tuition.
And like, they didn't come over with anything. And he's been working at a gas station, like,
And selling.
and selling
in the flea
junk. Like,
market.
where did that money come from? It's a little. Like, I'm not saying it's like suspicious or anything, but like,
No,
that's a lot of money built up that he just spent on this one night.
If you think about it though, like if you're being like modest with what you have, and if you like live in like what's only like necessary for yourself, I feel like you can build like interest, sort of.
I mean, I believe
Like it's possible.
35. That I think he would have had to bring something from Afghanistan here at some point to start him out. Do you know
No, I
what I'm
mean
saying?
he has been here there for a while.
How long have they been?
I
in
get
the
really
time
confused
span?
at the context
I
of
feel
time
like
in
they
this book.
left when he was like 9.
No, he was,
Oh,
a,
he was like
a
14.
teenager,
he
yeah.
was a teenager. Now he's 18.
Well, and
Nine.
at the end
I
of
feel
it,
like
he's
in
like
his
20.
20s here,
No,
yeah.
he's older.